Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings. Thank you for tuning in wherever and however you're listening to the podcast. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button on YouTube. We are on YouTube since the middle of season 3, as we are in season 4. So please hit that subscribe button. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants Podcast. That's all one word. The podcast has been growing very, very well, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in, following, enjoying the social work memes I've been posting and things of that nature. So uh, keep tuning in, keep tapping in. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Social Work Rants. That's been growing very well as well. And also, you can follow the podcast on Facebook. Just type in the Social Work Rants Podcast on Facebook. Hit the like button. I know we young folks don't be using Facebook like that anymore, but it is a tool to make some money in the field. So I got to use it. So my guest is a licensed clinical social worker, doing great things in our field. We're gonna tap in, talk about what she does in the field, and talk about her business, and we're gonna go from there. So, Shakeena, please introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and what you do in our wonderful, exciting, yet interesting field of social work.
Awesome. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you for the platform. A lot of times our field can be overlooked, and we know that many cannot function without this service, without the service advocates that we are. So thank you for giving this special field such a platform and a voice. Sometimes we have voices for everyone else, but we rarely have voices for ourselves. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
thank you. But as you said, my name is Shakeena Brantley. I am a licensed clinical social worker. By trade, I am a clinical social worker and therapist at the Department of Veteran Affairs, or also known as the VA. And I work with that special population of veterans, which I truly, truly love dedicating and serving those that have served. It is a gift, it is a blessing for those that have fought for our freedom. So this is my small piece of paying it forward and paying it back to what they have done. But also, I actually own my own private practice because, there are certain tapes and things that we can't do at the federal level that I truly believe I would love to do. So, what better way to do that than to have my own practice? And my specialty is working with couples and marriages and divorces and engagements because I truly believe that the partners are the foundation for strong families, for strong children. So I advocate in showing love between two partners and showing them a healthy way to raise a family. So that is my pride and joy. The practice is called Three Chord Counseling. It is a faith-based practice, hence the name. So I love doing that on the side as well. And it kind of works out because the VA takes up the daytime and I have my private practice in the evening and the weekends. It works out because most of the people that I serve are working professionals. So evening and weekend are perfect hours for me to do that as well, to serve such a good wide range of people where they don't have to feel like they've sacrificed work hours to work on their relationship. I want to make sure that they put it as the priority. So I make time for them to put it as a priority. So that's a little bit about myself. I have been in the field of social work since, let's see, I received my bachelor's degree in social psych at the Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. Then I went on to get my master's degree at Florida International University in Miami. And I've been practicing in the area of social work since 2007. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I always knew I wanted to help people, not really sure what arena.
Right.
So during internship, I learned what I didn't want to do. So still after graduate school, I had no idea what area of social work I wanted to go to. And social work is such a huge umbrella.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
literally everywhere you go in every field, you'll find a social worker. So it was so many options that I was a little overwhelmed. But I somehow managed to get into veterans and couples. And That's what I have been doing since 2007.
Awesome. Now working with veterans, where's that located?
That is located, and I am located in Orlando, Florida. So I
Oh,
am
okay.
working out of the Orlando VA Medical Center.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, Shout out to all the veterans that have served our great country of the United States. Um, Men and women way more braver than I could ever be. I would not volunteer to serve. I will be a proud draft dodger if we ever got to that point. I'm 42, so they probably won't take me anyway. But no, I would not. Absolutely, it's just I'm
Yeah.
not going to like another country. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Grabbing a gun or
Especially,
whatever. We'll be in no helicopter jumping off.
nope.
I'm not
Being
doing that.
away at a time,
Nothing.
not even speaking the languages in some places that you go to,
Yeah.
takes a special
Shout,
person, special people.
shout out to my high school friends and former and past coworkers that served. Like y'all y'all real ones for serving. So like that not be me. Especially that uniform, it'd be like in Saudi Arabia or somewhere. Like it's too hot.
Too hot, too cold in some
Too
places.
cold, exactly. Too cold
I
is like
just,
no,
oh man.
no,
Mm-mm.
will not be me. But let me digress. How are things with the VA in Orlando? Because number one, a job working in the VA, if you're in the outside trying to apply, it's so hard to get in to get a job in the VA.
It
But
really, really is.
once you win, like you might as well just stay for life because it's just
It really, really is. And for the field of social work, the VA for some of us, it's like that unicorn where it exists, never
yes.
quite seen it, can never really get into it. But it's so, once you are in, it really is awesome. But I'm not going to lie, it was a job to get a job into the VA. I literally put in hundreds of applications. And what I would recommend is not limiting yourself to a certain area. If you're flexible in traveling, like I applied throughout the entire state of Florida. Although at the time I was living in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, South Florida, I applied all the way up to North Florida, South Georgia, all the way down to the Keys, Puerto Rico. Like I was just not limiting where I apply because honestly, if you're willing to locate temporarily, do it. Because once you're in the network, you can always transfer back to whatever city or state you desire because they're all connected. So once you have one area, you can get a job in Minnesota. But ultimately, you don't want to live in Minnesota, but you can do that to get your foot there. Nothing
Exactly.
against Minnesota, but I'm a tropical person. So I like the sunshine and the heat. So I knew if I go to Minnesota, I'm not going to stay there forever, but
Right.
just stay there long enough so that you can get your foot in the door and then always transfer where there's an opening to whatever city. So that was the main thing I always tell interns, because I do supervise some LCSW interns, that if you want to get into the VA, be flexible, go where you need to go and do what you have to do to get in the field and in that area, because once you're in, like, you're golden. So I actually applied and my job was in North Florida, South Georgia. So I packed up my husband, my 3 kids, and we all moved from Fort Lauderdale to Gainesville to serve that North Florida, South Georgia area. And we were there for 2 years. And then when the Orlando VA was being built and completed, I was like, oh, there's an opening. So I applied, got in, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good tip because I know myself. I applied for a few jobs between like the Bronx, where I'm originally from, and down here in Delaware. There's a big Wilmington, Delaware location, and I applied there. And Philly, even like DC, like I applied from 1 or 2, and it's just like I got close, like I got to like the second level, and then I say like I haven't heard back, and it's like, damn, it's like playing an old video game, like play like I think past this board, and it's like so hard.
And the timelines are really long, so don't be discouraged. The Orlando VA took a year.
Wow.
1 year. I forgot I applied. Like when they called for
Exactly.
the
Be
interview, I
surprised.
was like, wait, what? I was applying to so many. I was like, wait, which VA?
Exactly.
It took so long, but don't be discouraged in the time frame because honestly, that is the nature of the beast. That the VA just takes a while in the processing and their boardings because there's a lot of red tape in different areas. HR. Once you pass HR, oh, and the initial application is not done by a person. So I always tell everybody that initial application that you submit is all electronical. So it picks up on keywords in the system that you put onto your resume, that you put into the application, that passes it on to the next stage. So I always tell people whatever keywords are in the job description, use those exact keywords in your
Mm.
resume so it highlights more and then bumps so you're at least not just automatically thrown into another pile from the first stage. At least you can get to the second stage a little bit easier.
Dropping gems already. Well, that's definitely good info to know if people want to get in to the VA. Like I'm already thinking about options. I'm always thinking what's next in terms of like work wise. So I've always been like that, and especially I started in foster care. So like foster care was like, all right, what's especially after year 3, like I need to get out of here. Like what's
Bless your
next? What
heart.
was out there, and just that you always gotta like think ahead and move
Mhm.
on to the next one, like the Jay-Z song.
Bless your heart. Anything with children, child welfare, it's so exhausting and emotionally draining. That's why their turnover is so high. And
Mm,
if you really think about it, that is a lot of entry level social work because
yeah.
it's such a lot of people and a lot of need in that area. But they work you to death, so you don't even stay long.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I worked for my first job, even while after undergrad, was for the Department of Children and Families here in Florida. It's called DCF. And it was so we were working for welfare recipients. And at that time, that's when the welfare reform happened and Clinton had put in place for us to, you now had to start working if you received
Mm,
assistance and food stamps. But those areas are so draining because the caseload outnumbers your sanity. So it's just
yes, yeah, for real.
it's not possible.
Right. But I recommend if you got to start, do it because you're just gonna learn so much so
Oh,
fast. You even like just there's no, especially now with the pandemic, there's no such thing as like job security, but
right.
they'll teach you like the old school way, all the job security, like it's so
Mhm.
cutthroat, and you realize moving forward, like your next job, like, okay, this is what I don't want in the supervisor, or this is what I'm
Yeah.
looking for is supervision, or just like the caseloads. Like, yes, I've
Mhm.
managed so many caseloads, but I need something less, and you just
Yeah.
be able to like choose where you want to apply for, where you don't want to apply for. It just helps you moving forward. So I recommend
Yeah. I don't think
anybody do
those,
that, even for like 6 months. 6 months will fly by so
yeah.
fast that like
I kind of
just
figure
do
like
it.
it's like an initiation process for social workers.
Yeah.
Like you have to. Like if you want to come into the field of social work, you have to go through one of those areas. Like that
Yeah.
shows us like you can handle this.
Yeah.
So it's like that initiation period where I think most of us have. Like if you ask any social worker, much more than likely they've been through some kind of child welfare or child foster home or
Some
in
sort of
that
case management, like
you
something.
have to, where your caseload is in the hundreds. But that it does build out a grit in you that says,
Yeah.
okay, like if you can handle that, we know you can handle pretty much anything after that.
Yeah.
So it did teach me a lot of things that even into the VA, like there are some social workers at the VA that didn't necessarily go through that route because they interned there. So after
Mm,
internship, they just went on and were hired. So they didn't go through the long route of that initiation process that I
right.
stated. And when I spoke about Medicaid and DCF and applying for those benefits and cash assistance, they had no idea what I was talking about. So I ended up doing trainings and I ended up getting positions because
Mm,
I went through those things that they know nothing about because we had a caseload of 200, 100. So when you give me a caseload of 20, I'm like, oh, please, I can do this in my sleep. So
right.
it kind of gears you and prepares you. So there's nothing wrong with even starting at those levels because it makes you such a phenomenal clinician where you stretch yourself to really see your tolerance for stress, unfortunately.
Right. Now, basically, the VA kind of gets this like bad, reputation of not taking care of the veterans. Now, is there any truth to that, especially in your location or what you've seen, or that's just a myth that goes around?
I think it was fact at a period in time. When the VA first started, there was a turn away of veterans, and it did leave a lot of a bad taste in a lot of veterans in mouths. And because of that, once sometimes when you wrong people, it only takes them that one time for them to be like, no,
Exactly.
that's. And a lot of times we left such a bad taste initially that a lot of veterans stopped coming to us for their care and for their treatment, and then they would tell their friends and then their friends and their children. So it created a whole stigma against the VA, when in fact we've worked so hard in the last years to try to change that reputation that we had. But when it first started, there were a lot of things that we missed and we dropped the ball on, and unfortunately that's where that reputation started. But a lot of times right now, in the last decade at least, I can tell you for sure, we have made it our goal to now go out into the community to show the veterans like, hey, this is a new culture that we have. Please come in. Like we're giving so much away too, just so that you can see we're here for you. Because if you think about it, the VA is nothing without the veterans.
Exactly.
So we need you. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to turn you away. This was built for you. So the VA, at one point it was true. I'm not going to sugarcoat that in any way. It
Yeah.
was true, but I don't know if it's because they were trying to work the kinks out. It was so many years ago, probably way before my time in this career. But in the last 10 years where I have been in my location, we work diligently, especially for missions for homeless veterans. We have social workers that go into the woods to get veterans, to give them food, and to go to their home, and holidays handing out items and clothing. And we've done things for equipment and medication and things that we can do to make sure that they know we're here for them. So hopefully soon we're starting to see occur, because we're serving more veterans than we have ever had. So something is working. Now, we're not going to please everyone, but no institution does. But we're definitely aiming to do so. We want to make sure that because they've given such a sacrifice, that we're working our butts off to show them like we're here for you.
Right. That's good. That's great to see, because it's just like you said, like sacrifice your lives. People coming back with PTSD, but people coming back with missing limbs, unfortunately, and other physical injuries. And the least the VA could do in this country is that to give back to their service men and women, and provide adequate care, provide resources, additional funding, like whatever they could do to help them. And
we're also doing different programs because we know society is changing. So we have programs for veterans that are transitioning, that are transgender, that are homosexual, that are single parents, that are minorities, that are majorities. Like we have even subcultures to make them feel like there's still a space for you. So whatever you're thinking of, I'm sure the VA has a program for that particular need that they have. So we're still trying even now to make sure that we're keeping up with what is happening in the society, so that the VA is its own society. It's like its own mini subculture. So we're trying to make sure that we have every group that you
be inclusive within the subculture.
We have for you. Yeah.
Gotcha. But that's good. And that I don't hear nobody talking about that with the VA, and not even like the federal government, talking about that. So that's good that's being addressed, at least starting to be addressed. And the VA has like the self-awareness that it wants to do that for its veterans of all kinds. So that's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what exactly is going on in Orlando regarding COVID and everything. I know their trash governor is like running amok since the pandemic has started, and slowly building his I think he's going to run for president for 2024 if he chooses to. That's just me. No, you know, but he's just running amok. I got a brother that lives in Orlando, so I see Orlando's open for business. Sometimes Disney World is not, but everything else is like is open for business since the pandemic started. So
Disney is now open.
as of this recording,
everything is completely up, functioning, opening. We are still of course, during social distancing, and masks are still not mandatory, but most businesses are stating that they want you to enter with a mask. 90% of the businesses are requiring that you have a mask. No one is asking for vaccine cards. No one is asking, your status on vaccination, which they shouldn't. But no one is even speaking of vaccine status as far as businesses are concerned. But my family and I took a trip to Tennessee for Christmas. And it's so funny that just in different states, it's a completely different culture. There is no mask in Tennessee. Like there's no mask. There's no social distancing. I was like, where am I? Like we looked like we were crazy because we were like the only people like, should we put on a mask? Should we not? No one had on a mask. And it was just like, I felt like I was in a completely different country. So here in Orlando, we are still wearing masks. We're still practicing social distancing and, of course, telling everyone to wash their hands. As far as the VA, they are still, and the VA is also giving out vaccines. So all the veterans free, of course, booster shots. So they are still pushing for vaccinations as well. But as far as businesses, everything is completely open. Jobs are open. A lot of people are now going back into work. So a lot of telehealth positions are now declining, and a lot of businesses are asking, it's either a feast or famine. They're either asking everyone to come back, or they're actually some businesses that said, we can actually do this staying home and actually save money on, storefronts and offices, because if you were doing it for almost 2 years from home and we didn't drop the ball, then a lot of businesses are saying, well, let's cut some funding in certain areas and continue to work from home. So that's the new trend that I've noticed. A lot of even social work positions are telework positions or home visits, of course, but office work isn't even mandatory anymore. So it's kind of unique in a different place I've never been into, where you don't have to go in to work. Even half of my interns are interviewing via Zoom.
Right.
Never met them, but you've been hired. Like, that's weird to me.
Yeah.
You're hired and I never met you in person.
Exactly. That's even in the last job I had, like I met like my supervisor like during the interview and just meetings on Zoom, and I only met him like 2 times in person. And the first time was like I had a conversation with him and I didn't realize that was him. Because he looked different from the Zoom. Not how people like look different on Zoom sometimes. They see him in person, they're like, look so different in person. Like
it's so crazy. Like, and for social, we're used to like human contact. Like we're used to face-to-face interaction. But it also shows me like the longevity of our field. Like even through this, social workers are always going to have a job, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person. Even more so now, I noticed our job field was increasing as far as the likelihood of now, because people aren't coming in, they need more people to go out to them. So I was telling a lot of my interns, like a lot of their jobs are going into the home of whoever they're seeking or their agency. So I just said, just look at this and the pandemic that we've gone through. If that doesn't show you anything about our field, like they need us. There is a need for us.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people, myself included, out there, like if I don't have to go to a person's house and just do everything, by phone or computer or Zoom, and like I'd rather just do that just until once the World Health Organization and CDC together come out, it's like this pandemic is over. There's like I'll go out and do a home visit. I mean, I did home visits just last year, while we still in the pandemic before vaccines came out.
Yeah.
But it was like I was trying to avoid it by all means necessary if I could. So,
Yeah.
but that's just the nature of where we're going. That we got to go out and see people. People need these services. People need help. People still need to apply for benefits. People still need to get some money somewhere. People need to get food from somewhere,
I know. And even
and
therapy.
the places you gotta go in person and get it.
Yeah.
And the therapy, I would love to see uh, uh, a couple legit HIPAA compliant places and
Yeah.
things that or platforms that they're HIPAA compliant. They just do. Yes, we need that interaction, that physical space, and a lot of clients need that. Like I gotta see you face to face and
Yeah.
really for you to feel what I'm saying. But at the
Right.
same time, like it has to be a HIPAA compliant
Yeah.
platform that
I
people can use
still
for virtual.
advocate a lot of my couples to be seen in person. Actually, they prefer it, honestly, because something happens in person. Because if you think about it, you're talking to a couple especially, and you're trying to counsel, and then there's children in the background, or there's in-laws. Like how beneficial is this session going to be if you
Yeah.
have so many distractions because we're doing this virtually in your home, where your home can sometimes be the greatest stressor. So it's good to come out of the home, come into an office where you just usually the clinician, makes it as serene as possible for you to just have 60 minutes of breakaway from whatever life has had or is holding for you when you get out, when you leave my doors in my office. So that I do think therapy, if we can do it in person, please. Like I'm all for making it accessible through apps and Zoom and other platforms and simple practice, like all of those, amazing if you have no choice or if you're out of state. But if you're in state and you can, yeah, I'm all for doing it in person if you can.
Right,
And you
right.
can always do 6 feet distancing in your office. The couch can be over there, the chairs can be over here, my chair is here. So just to give them a break from their normal settings. So
For the people in the back, she says 6 feet, not that 3 feet BS that
no,
they doing in the elementary schools.
no. We can get a measuring tape out as well.
I got no problem whipping out a measuring tape. Like if you were offended by a measuring tape, then you should not.
Then I'm not the one for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's real out here. Like we all got families, and we need to be safe for
Yeah,
ourselves and our families. So you got to respect that. You don't respect that, then I'm not the person for you.
exactly. I can do a referral. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but you made the face about about the governor
It's, it's,
a person from Florida. You see how he been acting like, and from a social work lens, like what do you think about him?
from any political arena, it's for me, it's always the lesser of two evils. And I'm still on loans, promises for school loans and debt, and now not fulfilling promises. So right now probably wouldn't be the best time for me to speak on politicians, because right now I'm so upset about my
Yes,
loans that I can't even focus.
you
Like
and me both.
I am, and then I'm getting letters in the mail about, this is the payments, the suspension is over starting January 2022. So all of us, social workers, anyone with higher education debt is like freaking out. So
Yeah. What at least Sleepy Joe extended to May 2022.
how gracious of him to give us 5 more months.
But what he don't say is the interest rates are gonna go up in the summer. So the more you delay, it's
The
just gonna
higher you
be
pay.
exactly. Just cancel them. You talk about the VA, the freaking Pentagon got like 600 like $1 billion in funding. You can't pay. You telling me there's no money for student loans when the Pentagon got all this money?
Exactly.
It's
Exactly. Even if you do a portion, even if it's 50, 60, 70%, something, you have it. It's there. It's there.
Yes, yes. So for all my listeners that listen that are not in America, this is the struggle us Americans are currently going
Yeah.
through with
Well, you have to keep them on
our
vacation.
lovely president and our non-existent vice president.
Or your local governors and mayors. So
Yes, governors, mayors, senators. No, the only person who got our back is AOC, and then people looking at her like she got 10 heads every single time, including members of her own party. So
party. The best I can tell any social workers, please be aware, of course, what's going on in society in the region that you reside in. And if anything, that should just spark more of our advocacy fire, because certain laws and certain people that we put in place, even when they give you a good speech in the beginning and don't follow through on promises, that just makes it even more vital for us to pay attention, for us to start helping to change certain laws. And this is why Tallahassee is very important for the state of Florida. Know your capital, know your rights, know your days for petition. Show up, speak.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, it's just a crazy time we're in, and it's just the news cycle is it's just constant. It's like all day, every day, and that's why a lot of people just stop watching the news. Like I just watch the news for the weather because I recently bought an iPhone, but I still don't be trusting the weather that's on the phone. So I gotta turn on the news, just watch the weather and maybe a little sports and see like all the sports broadcasters freaking out about their teams, like why they losing, what's going
Uh,
on, things of that nature. But that's it. That's it.
Take it in small portions.
Yes,
Small
exactly.
portions, because it can truly be discouraging. So sometimes I can go a whole month and not even know what's happening, just to kind of preserve my
Right.
peace of mind.
But to go real quick, relate to social work and the news cycle. 2020 showed that it don't matter who's really in office, that you can still make your money despite whoever's in office.
Yeah.
So keep moving forward. No, there's money to be made. There's things
Mhm.
to learn. Everything's online. People is more accessible to good information than it's ever been before.
Yes.
I call this COVID era the era of shooting your shot. Is no respectfully, no DM somebody. Like I said, respectfully, you got an idea. Everybody's on the phone. Like 98% of the population got a smartphone. Um, and just reach out to people. You got an idea, reach out respectfully, and things can happen. The worst that can happen, somebody says no,
Yeah.
and you think of something else. But just always, that's how like the podcast first came
Yeah.
about. Just like I had an idea and then started like reaching out to people, and look what we have in a conversation right
Yeah.
now. So
And that's another positive that came out of this. Like, there were so many entrepreneurs that
yes,
blossomed from this pandemic. And even for social work, like, I started to see other streams of income. I'm like, well, let's put this LCSW to work. So,
mhm,
like, especially, there's so many things that you can do outside of agency work, like agency work, VA work. That's not, I mean, that's more than likely your livelihood, or maybe 80% for now.
mhm,
But then you can be an author, you can speak, you can be training, you can do your own practice. Like, there are so many things that we can do where you dictate your own income, your own schedule,
right,
your
absolutely.
own stream of income. So it is.
Triumph through pain coming soon, 2022, by yours truly.
Well, come on. This is
So
the time. Like you said, shoot your shot. Worst I could do is you miss. Okay. You do something else.
yes, exactly. It's all you can do, but just keep putting pressure. Like, everybody's a tweet away. Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody, just you can tag them on IG, Facebook. Just obviously respectfully, don't talk like somebody might pose a threat or something like that,
Right.
because you will get arrested and you will get some Fed time.
Keep it
But
professional.
just keep it professional. Just keep putting pressure on them, and like who knows what's going to happen if enough people put pressure something has to happen. Otherwise, the- who knows? We could take note what people in Puerto Rico did, and they went in the streets and they got the governor out. So like I was like look at Puerto Rico what they did. See, up here in the mainland could actually take notes
Yeah.
of what they did. So like things can happen if you really want it and put pressure yourself.
Yeah. This is true.
So now not only are we in the era of the Great Recession, as people like to say, but there's also we in the area of the great divorce rate, like like in the pandemic, like uh, I know seeing stories of like so many people, unfortunately, well, good or bad, because divorce can be good
Hmm.
for a lot of people, or need it, whatever. And I'm living proof of that. So like it can be beneficial. Like, but what are you seeing in your work, with couples that what like yes, we were quote unquote, stuck in the house together, and like things like problems before, and now you seeing it all 24/7, like the problems really coming out of hand. But what are you seeing in your work with the couples?
So a huge increase. Let's start with that. There was a huge jump in the amount of people that were soliciting assistance and help and just reaching out. So our caseload like jumped at like doubled than what we started prior to the pandemic, which is good and bad, like you said. So what I've been telling people is that the pandemic has highlighted problems, one that was already there. The pandemic
Mhm.
didn't give you problems, they were already there, but because you had no other outlets, it's just showing itself more, which is good. So I always highlight that it's a good thing when problems are noticed. Why would you want a problem that you can't see? So
Mhm.
always tell people that even though it might not feel good, it's good that it's coming out. It's good that it's showing its head. So I always highlight and praise the fact that you came to see me is a good thing, even though it's for a bad cause or for a not so good reason, but it's good. I'm glad that you're seeking help. So during the pandemic, it has definitely highlighted, even not as couples, but just for the individuals within the relationship. There was a
Mhm.
lot of time where people were now able to self reflect on a lot of things that they ignored about themselves or are now noticing about themselves because a lot of things have quieted down. So a lot of the distractions are gone. So they were able to do a lot of self assessment, which is good. I always praise people for that. I'm happy that you found this out about yourself. You've been making it 30, 40 years and never noticing it. So it took a worldwide pandemic for you to notice this, and that's okay. The good thing is now that you're trying to do something about it. So I always praise them and highlight that just seeing a problem isn't always a bad thing.
Mhm.
But there are some couples that made it, and there are some couples that didn't. And like you said, that's still okay. And even if it doesn't work out, we then talk about how to co parent or how to still be friends or how to break up in a healthy way and not hate each other. So we're mature adults. There's still a way to function and coexist without hating someone. So
Right.
we kind of work on amicable separation. We work on um, igniting intimacy. We work on communicating and not yelling. We work on listening.
Yeah, that's big. The listening
So
is so big.
everybody wants to just talk and communicate, but I'm like, listening is a huge
Yes.
part of communication. No one is listening. Oh, but that's one of the major things that we have now worked on and what I've implemented in the practice because of the trend that we've been noticing. So good and bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So how's the pandemic been for you as a person? You mentioned you're a wife, with kids, and so how's it been for you as a person?
So that's a very good question. So this year was really, really hard. And I use this, I'm very transparent with any patients that I see. Anytime I'm speaking, I'm always transparent about I don't just speak mental health because it's my profession. I speak mental health because it's my life. Like, I'm still human. Even though we're clinicians, we still go through everything that everyone else does. So I always tell people 2020, I lost a best friend to breast cancer. And having a funeral in a pandemic, very, very, very weird. We were homeschooling 3 children, which in itself is insane, while still trying to work. And of course, all still stuck in the house, all the things that you see going on with people of color and just brutality. So it was just a cluster of mess. And I made an appointment to find a therapist for myself, which I had years ago, but after 2020, I tell people, if you left 2020 and 2021 without seeking a mental health professional, please do. Even if you don't think there's anything that's popping up or showing its head, still see someone, because you could not live through this year and not feel something, anxiety or some level of mental health effect. So I did seek a therapist this year for myself, was diagnosed with anxiety because of everything that just happened, was actually on mood stabilizers for 6 to 8 months myself. But I needed that, and that's okay. Like, I tell people, that's fine. I should have anxiety. We should have anxiety. Like,
Yes.
Look out, you should have anxiety, to say the least.
Yes.
So grief and stuck in your home and having this thing that's killing people that you can't see, you don't know it's there. People can have it and it was just like madness. So the least of it is anxiety, depression, and that's okay. You're human and you're living. So it did take a toll on me. I don't lie about that. I don't lie about seeking a therapist, which I always tell therapists should always see other therapists. So I don't apologize for that. I am still seeking counseling, just talk therapy at this point. The medication has kind of, because it was circumstantial with the grief, compounded on everything else, kind of made it a lot. So, and even if I didn't have to get off the medication, I was still on it. I tell people that's okay. You will take medication for anything else. This is the same thing. So it did take a toll on me. I am getting back to a place where I feel confident in, very close to where I was before, but I will never be, and this is what I tell people as well, you will never be that person you were prior to the pandemic. None of us will be, because there's a completely new normal. There's a completely new version of you, and that's okay. You're not the same person you were at 12, so why would you be the same person that you were 2020? So that's okay. Like, I'm not trying to be the same Shakeena that was in 2020. I want to be better than where she was, and I'm just using this as something else I can now speak to other clinicians about, other interns about, patients. So I've taken it in stride, but I am not scared to seek counseling, take medication, and make sure that I am as healthy as I can be with everything that's going on.
Right, absolutely. More power, to you for that, and my condolences for your loss, because there's definitely a lot of people who experience loss, not only here in America, but throughout the world, and it's just, you just don't know, like, what a person right next to you or across from you or across the street from you, like, what a person's going through. And I just wish, like, nonprofits and other social work agencies, like, put that more, like, in their practice more, for their employees, like, whatever you're like going through, stop always like, where are my progress notes, where's my reports, what's this and that, and like, I'm just trying to make it through the day. Like, you lucky, like,
Exactly.
I woke up this morning.
You lucky I came to work.
Exactly, came to work. Like,
and I clicked this little Zoom button and trying to participate. Be happy.
Exactly. Like, you lucky I'm here. Like, I just like wake up. You lucky I got out of my car just to just to go to, gas prices are expensive. You lucky I even showed up. So
and my supervisor is actually very supportive with a lot of the things that she saw going on in the news. She would always say, check in and say, well, how are you doing? And it pays when you work with other social workers, because they know kind of how to ask particular questions. We can kind of, we have the intuition to say, well, how are you really? Like, we know to
Yeah.
be active listening. So she was really very good about me taking mental health days as well. So she was like, if you need to go, please go. And it
No,
pays
that's
to
great.
have an accountability partner that makes you and sometimes forces you to take the time that you know you need, but we don't often take. So
Mm. Yeah, that's why I appreciate like my supervisor I had when I was working in New York and in the height of the initial pandemic, and like we did have took like a half hour to an hour
yeah.
in our day and just do check-ins, like weekly check-ins, or just how you doing. Like we were losing clients like left and right on top of the world happening at the same time. So it was just like, well, like what is like, how do you do it? How do you feel? Like just express however you're feeling and what's going on. And this is like Breonna Taylor being murdered, George Floyd being murdered, and then pandemic going on, and it's like
Mhm.
what like how are you feeling, like, and things of that nature. So like it was perfect having, like you said, a social worker asking
Yeah.
the questions and just being there, supportive. Like we all in it together. Like we all like you know directly and indirectly working with these clients that are passing away, unfortunately, left and right. So like I like let's talk about it. So I'm definitely grateful, like for that time, and then just working with people now who are not social workers and just like don't have a clue of what's going on. It's like, you lucky I'm here, like,
Mhm.
like so just let me live. Like
Exactly.
Jay-Z is like, "Hey, can I live?" Ding, ding. like like so it is what it is, and people have to understand that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay even if you don't know, because sometimes people would ask me, well, how are you feeling? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I feel. Like sometimes because I think we are social workers, we feel like we have to make it eloquent and we have to put it
yeah,
in these, you know, pretty terminologies and DSM vocabulary. But
yeah,
honestly, when you're like going through it, you don't have sometimes it's hard to verbalize what you're feeling. So it's perfectly to say, I don't know. I don't know. I know I'm not okay. And that's perfectly okay.
yeah, absolutely. It's okay. It's okay to be not be okay, and I know that I've seen that a lot on social media, and it's true. It's okay not to be okay. Like we all got got something going on. It could be, even though it'd be good. Like business is booming, we making money, probably making the most money we ever
Right.
made. But at the same time, like there's people going through it, and clients that we work with, they going through some stuff, and it's like that adds to like the vicarious
Oh my
trauma
God.
on top of us. So like we could be good, and then we can talk to the client like, like you gotta like
And you're
process
completely
that, and
stagnant.
it's like you back into like this blah state. It was
Yeah.
like I
Uh,
can't believe what I
yeah.
just heard, and it's like damn, like
It's so crazy. I tell people our field is one of the very few fields where people come to you at their worst.
mhm,
Like it's just even when doctors, like you can have not every doctor you get someone at their worst. They can, you can be an obstetrician and you're bringing life to this beautiful family and it's a
right,
joyous
exactly.
time. And our field, most of the time, people come to seek our help is because they have a need and they're not at their best. So we're gonna hear like hella stories of
Mhm.
stuff, and because they're talking to you and you naturally, as you know, we're humans and we take on what our clients are telling us. We do the best not to bring a lot of things home, of course, but
Right.
the best clinicians, you're not going to be able to leave all of that at your office. Like it is what it is. You're not.
Mhm.
So it's like you said, hearing all of these things, and we could be good, and you get that person that's in your office, so you're like, oh my God, what? And now you have to help them process through trauma. And
Mhm.
now your day is not the best, but
Right.
walking with them is what makes it valuable.
Which perfect segue leads to my next question. What do you do in terms of self care? You work with all these clients, and you hear stuff, and like how do you like process all that, and just like what
Right.
are things you do outside of work?
So self-care for me, which it might not be for everybody else, but for me, it's not getting hair done. It's not getting my nails done. None of those qualify for self-care for me because one, I have to drive to wherever I'm going. There's a salon full of people. You're waiting. Like that's not peaceful for me. So that's, I mean, you might look good afterwards, but it's not self-care. I just finished cursing somebody out at the red light to go do self-care. That's not.
Right.
So I would always tell, for me, finding out what self-care is for me is going to be something different than what self-care is for you or someone else. So purposely for me is one, making sure I go to church. The other part is quiet. I like quiet. And because I still suffer with anxiety and I'm an overthinker and a lot of times things are constantly running through my head, I like silence and I like to be alone. So I make sure at least once a month, which I should do more, I take a day off from work, a day off from practice, and it's a day that my kids are intentionally at school so that it's quiet. My husband is at work, so it's just me. Like I do things like my phone is still on silent. Since 2020, my phone has been on silent, not on vibrate, not on ring, because the noise and the alerts would make me anxious. The
Mm.
text messages, the notifications, that was not calming for me. So making sure, even in my drive home, when I drive by myself, I take drives by myself. I roll the windows down, I roll the moonroof back. I don't play any music at all. Some people like to have white noise in the background. That's fine too. I don't do those things. I like complete and utter quiet because my life is already so loud. So those are things that I do. I'm not a reader for leisure purposes, but I'm a journaler. So I journal like a mad woman. So those are some things that I do. I do walks and exercise. Those are things that kind of, and it's proven like balances your hormones and help with self-care for me. So I try to do that at least once a month for the day off and at least once a week for my drives by myself or just sitting alone in a quiet dark area, just by myself and focusing on my thoughts and actually completing a thought. So all of those are good self-care for me. But I tell everybody, find out what self-care looks like for you.
Yeah, no, and that's great that you have that self-awareness for yourself, because people like, I don't know what to do, like, and that they seek the therapist, seek the therapy, and expect the therapy to give them the answers, and it's
Nope.
like,
We do not have a magic wand.
exactly.
When I did work into the office, we had this running joke where there was a wand, and we like it was just like a play wand. So like we would have people that come into the office, and we'd be like, "Oh, go get your wand," because they want the world. So they would just come in with these random requests, like, "Oh, they need a home, they don't have food, they need a car." Like, okay, let me go get my wand, and it was like an inside joke because we don't have a wand. Like there is
Yeah,
no magic.
and I'm glad you mentioned like the church too, because definitely church has been like a big thing, for me throughout the whole pandemic, even before like the pandemic, but definitely the pandemic,
Mhm.
and it's definitely been like something like,
Oh,
even like a few weeks ago, I was like, I don't care what we do today, but we gotta go to church. Like,
yeah,
so I feel like all my blessings that have come about within the
yeah.
pandemics, because I've been consistent, going to church. I think I could count on like one hand the amount of days I missed, and even when church went remote, I was still like my
Mhm.
laptop, like, all right, let's go. It's 12 o'clock. It's church. Like, sit down on the
Yes.
couch and let's do the service. And
It's
even when I moved, like found a church in the community that's
yeah.
very similar to what I was already experiencing. So like we going. Like, I wish more parishioners wear masks, but that's that's another story. I still go. I got my mask on. Like, I'm ready. Like, praise the
It's not
Lord. Like let's go.
you have like church is a spiritual hospital. So if you would go to the hospital for anything else, why not church?
Mhm.
Church has been, I'm actually an ordained minister like that. I like wholeheartedly believe in being completely healed, and I can't be completely healed if spiritually I'm wounded like that. for me, it doesn't make sense for me to see a therapist, for me to have a doctor, nutritionist, exercise. All of those are great, but it means nothing if I'm not healed internally, spiritually. So for me, holistically healed includes my spirituality. So, and I make no apology for it.
Ordained minister. That's another side hustle. Get a check for weddings.
Yeah, so it actually makes sense when I counsel couples too. I'm like, okay, so you take my premarital course, I can do the ordination. I get you a little discount if you go through Orange County. So all of those things. Listen, different streams of income.
Exactly. That's you have to. It's the way of the world now. Is just even just in social work, like you can't just have just like one main job because people could get laid off, funding get cut, and things happen. You work for companies that mismanage money, and then like you if you pay attention, you realize like, why is spending like $1 million a month, and like we're bringing in new clients and we ain't got no money. Like it's like it's time for me to go. This company gonna be belly up, and
red flags, right? Red flags. Pay attention.
You see red flags at the job, is like, it's time to hit Indeed, hit LinkedIn, and it's like, gotta move, gotta bounce. And don't be afraid to leave a job. Like people like like times have changed. Like you ain't happy, like bounce, leave. Like it don't matter if it's 2 weeks. Like you could be like that Simpsons meme, like the old man walk into the bar and he walk right out, put his hat down, grabs the hat, walk right out, whatever. Like it's.
Listen, that's actually one thing. I'm glad you brought it up. I've actually been struggling with that myself because I want to do my practice full time to kind of be available for the need that's there. But when you get that good government job, you're like so torn. Like, but I know I'm going to probably do maybe PRN for the VA. I'm definitely not going to completely leave it, but the 9 to 5, I know I can't do. So that message was for me that you just said, because I cannot be afraid to leave this job.
that leads to the last question. Goals for 2022. And I can't believe we're saying 2022 because I can't believe it's been like 2 years. Like 2020 was like yesterday.
Yep. It was a big blur. Just came and sucked up a lot of people and spit us out. So 2022, that is one of my goals, is to finally buckle down and do the practice full time. My other goal is to bring on another clinician. I started to, but it's really difficult to bring on another clinician. So to bring another clinician on into the practice, because ultimately, maybe not in 2022, but maybe in 2023, but I would like the practice to actually be just functioning without me. So just to have other clinicians practicing in 3-chord counseling without myself. Like you don't see Mr. Walmart at Walmart. So he's not bringing in groceries. So that's ultimately what my goal is, to make residual income without my hands in everything. So that is my goal. And to continue to speak more, to put out another book. And I think that's it. I'm not going to like overwhelm myself. So I'm just going to stick with those 3.
And that's to go back, like there's been like so much good information that is like where to go. So like overwhelm myself, like start something. Oh, that looks interesting. Do that. And it's like, oh man. And by the time you end up like doing nothing, it's like, no, I need to get it together. Focus on one thing. And like, so I'm glad you said like those 3 things and boom. Like,
enough for me. Yep.
You already got the kids to worry about too. So.
And now I just got to figure out how to prioritize and what I'm going to do first. But that's it. I think 3 things. I usually try to do 1 thing per quarter, but yeah, who says I have to do that? So I'm going to do 3. Take it easy.
Exactly. So where can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram. I'm oldie, so I'm still on Facebook, like you said. My daughter actually told me the other day, she's like, well, Facebook is for old people. Ma'am. Okay.
My son
So
says the same thing.
how dare you? How dare you? So Facebook and Instagram. Now I feel so bad when I say Facebook. I feel like I'm dating myself. The
It's,
number.
it's meta now. It's meta.
Oh,
Mark Zuckerberg, cut the check. I said the right thing.
It's okay. Oh my. So Meta. The number 3 core counseling is 3 core counseling on those handles. And my daughter did help me with the TikTok as well. So I do have a TikTok now. But that is Couples Clinic on TikTok. And my website is the number 3 courtcounseling.com.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I had a good time.